welcome everyone to episode 49 of High Tech on the Low. Efrat, how are you this morning?
I am awesome. How are you?
I am great. I'm really glad to have you here. And what is going to be super exciting today is that we get to talk about all sorts of things Amazon. But before that, we always want to give a shout out to Front Team with its 12 communities, 6 different verticals, and 3,000 members all looking to connect with you. And we're here with Efrat, who is the Senior Partner Solutions Architect at AWS.
I'm proud of you.
I
You
said that all
managed
well,
to do
you
that.
know?
Great. Yeah.
And it was a bit of a tongue twister a little bit on the way. So I figure I got it well. But listen, you know, what's really cool about having you in the studio, other than that, now I know you through all these other connections, what we won't, say, and you agreed to grace me with your presence this morning and to be on video, is that, I have always had a very big interest in Amazon. I've always thought it's very cool. I've had friends work at it in the States. I've had friends work both in the, we can say the businessy side of it and also the tech side. Mm-hmm. And I'm very interested to talk to someone who's in the AWS space. And I'll tell you why. I have been hearing all this talk of move to the cloud. Cloud integration, everything, cloud adoption, cloud whatever. And I feel like now that we have someone who's actually in the we can say the forefront of this kind of move in the studio, I want to just pick your brain and understand what's going on. So that's what we're going to do today and understand how it can be adapted for startups, adapted for businesses, so everything like that. So first, let's start by understanding a little bit about you. So maybe give us a little bit of an introduction for the people at home.
Okay. Just feel free to pick my brain. So my name is Efrat, born and raised at Israel, been in tech for more than 2 decades. I'm going to say how long, you can calculate my age from it. But the entire time was all about being in the technology side of things.
Sure.
So starting from my army service, going into companies, majority was about enterprise organization, but all of it about non-functional testing. So it's all about high availability, scalability, mm-hmm. performance testing, mm-hmm. going through being professional services, so starting work with customers, and then moving into all around solutioning for the IT side. So when you look at solution architect, and it's a really, really curious role, you look about solving problems, right?
Okay.
Customers have problems,
right.
You come and solve them. I always done that, but I always done that on the technical side, on the IT side, on the networking, on disaster recovery. This is really fascinating because you can think about same problems, but in a way, they're very, very different. Customers are bringing very different problems, and they're looking for very different solutions. And this is what I do in my day-to-day.
So what is like the day-to-day look like for you? Let's say I'm a guy who comes in, I have a problem with something AWS related. What does your day look like? How do you solve my problem?
So it's very much depends. I'm working in my full role, by the way. You have to add to the end of it telecommunication, BSS, OSS, right?
Okay.
So yeah,
I know.
I didn't even try to
make
you do that. So the thing about telecommunication industry, I think it's really fascinating because we're used to having these traditional phone companies, right? I'm having a phone, maybe I have a mobile.
Right.
But these companies are becoming really, really interesting because there's a lot of experience going on in transformation in the telecommunications. So it can be digital experience. You're having the young generation. They don't want to have like these big operators. They want something lightweight, self-service,
dynamic.
very easy, dynamic. So fit their age and fit their expectation, but it don't have to be real time, right? Mm-hmm. It has to be very easily. You can pick your own offers that best fit your business needs, and then you're having all the generation about what are we doing with the data? Like just imagine how much data is being preserved and what kind of analytics, what kind of like interesting insights can be done about data.
Sure.
And there's all about going into quad plays because it's not just previously you had companies like fixed line, and then you had companies for mobile, and then for TV, and then for streaming. So now it's all about these quad plays and multi-plays that you're getting one company providing you all these kind of services bundled. You don't have to work with different companies. So it's a really interesting. And then the last one I hope we'll be able to dive a little bit deep into is all about the network side, the 5G.
Right.
If you hear about cloud, you hear about 5G all the time.
Yeah.
What happened with the next generation of networking? So it kind of all comes together. Mm-hmm. So this is my solutioning is around this industry.
So it's kind of like taking a bunch of different parts of different parts of the solution to come together to one core solution, it sounds like.
So yeah, my work is mostly in the ISV and enterprises. So startups have different needs, but at the end of the day, you look at these big organizations,
Right.
they used to maintain their IT services. And now we touch a little bit about what is AWS, because my solutions is around a very specific cloud provider, which is
Let's go into
Amazon.
it.
Yeah.
There we go.
So AWS is Amazon Web Services.
Okay.
Okay, if you want, always wanted to know, I think.
Which is what is different from Amazon Web Services from Amazon, right? Because I think that's also something that a lot of people don't always understand.
No, okay. So Amazon is like more than 1.5 million employees. It's like a huge
like a
business.
small country.
So it started. You know what starts with books and retails,
Right, of course.
and it's still a very big main business. But Amazon is so more than that.
Right.
So it can be from streaming into, you're hearing about Alexa. You're hearing about the Amazon Go. So there's a huge amount of businesses going on, and AWS is a part of this big or organism, let's call it like this, but its focus, it's a cloud provider. So it's focused on cloud services, and we're back to the word cloud.
Okay.
Didn't say what that means.
Got kind of quick there, Efrat, but
I know, but it's the idea about cloud is really interesting, because at the end of the day, it sounds really boring. It's provide you IT services, kind of like in an on-demand
right.
for your business in a pay-as-you-go model. Okay,
And it's also
that's like
not
very
tangible. I can't
boring.
see it, right? It's at the end of the day, we're talking about the cloud, which is this, kind of large thing, which is like, yes, I put
Yeah.
all my data there, but I'm not touching it. It's not like I can just go on Amazon and, buy something into
You
my
can't
house.
hug your I know.
yeah, I
you can't
can
hug
hug.
your IT, and that's one of the problems. Sometimes organizations, really, usually traditional organizations, the one that are big enterprises, they love their data center. They love to feel like, I see my server.
Floor
It's there,
minus one.
it exists.
Right.
But then it's very spoiled because
Okay.
you have to manage it.
Right.
And you have to, let's start by saying you have to procure it.
Right.
And then you have to maintain it. You have to make sure it's secured. You have
Sure.
to make sure that something, goes wrong. You need to replace it. After a while, it becomes old, and then you have to procure new ones. And you have spend a lot of IT resources and attention instead of on your business,
Right.
on your IT resources.
Right.
You have to do that. So again, it's all about what do you want to achieve. You want to focus on your business, and you want to have the right platform that will allow you to move this,
Right. To get to the
heavy,
next level.
undifferentiated heavy lifting
Right.
out of your organization. Just focus on what you do best, which is your business. And this is what cloud providers are doing. They're saying we're using the economy of scale, so we're procuring a huge amount of hardware. And we're not just about the infrastructure, but it's also the services on top of it. Because
Okay.
why stop with hardware? Okay, you got compute, you may got storage under it, but then you need databases, right? So
Right.
you have to put your data somewhere. Why manage your databases? Because it's a really complex thing to manage a database.
And so basically you're saying at Amazon,
And then,
we do it.
We do it for you.
Okay.
So we do it for you by providing you not just with the infrastructure, but also with the services on top of it. Services can be in many, many domains. It can be around machine learning and artificial intelligence and analytics. It
I
can
did
be
hear
around
about this recently, yeah.
Yeah, it's like I think again, this like you're having all kind of things that are really interesting. So again, organizations want to know what to do with their data, but trying to put all these models requires a lot of expertise. And what we're trying to do is to make things simpler.
And
by
how
the
do you
fact
do
that
that
we
at,
provide-
at Amazon, right? Because, it sounds to me, I'll be honest, I'm sitting here, I'm like floored, right? It's like at the same time, you have all the Amazon traditional stuff, we can call it, right? All of Amazon, which you just kind of brought to us before. But, what I'm trying to understand here is how you guys are able to, first of all, give this type of data experience, help companies actually move themselves to the cloud, but then also give the service aspect. It seems like quite a bit of a lot of like diverse things that you are in charge of for the company.
I will tell you what. So it's almost started, but how did that begin? So how did AWS begin? You have to think about Amazon.com. So if you look at it and how the company started, it started by needing to put the data and manage this very, very big retail organization somehow, because again, all of these orders. And then Amazon.com for a decade built this competency around, managing the IT and managing the platform. They said, okay, if we know to do it so well for this huge amount of
like transactions,
company,
basically.
yeah. So might as well offer
it
it
for
to
everyone
other
else.
customers. Exactly.
There you go.
And then it just expanded. So the thing is about it is that you're starting by putting the basic offerings, and then you grow and you expand. So we're talking about the breadth and depth. So breadth is all about, all the time going,
Right,
all
more
the
services, more
edges.
this, more that, yeah.
So everything you need to think about. IoT, edge devices. I hope, again, we're going to touch about that because that's my passion about edge stuff, edge 5G. But at the same time, again, so if you look at on depth, we're having, more, I think 15 purpose-built databases because your data doesn't behave the same.
Wow.
We had to have like relational databases before. Everybody was putting them in tables and in connections. And everybody was like 15 years back. It's like you put everything in like this one or two or three databases, but they're all relational.
Right.
You might have data warehouse. Whoa. And then these days it's like I look at my data and I say, no, I don't want to use something like, I don't want to mitigate on what I want to use. I want to use something that is best fit my data. Maybe columnar.
Right, not putting like a cookie cutter for me, saying I want to put my data that works for me in the right situation. Now,
I'm spoiled. I want my business to succeed, but I don't want to be needing to manage all of this because it's scary. If I put too many different types, I have to like maintain it, and I have to patch it, and I have to secure it, and I have to learn how to do that. If you get that as a managed service, then it's a win-win situation because you pick the right database for you, but someone else have this headache of really managing and patching and making sure that it's resilient and scale and all around that. So it's like
it's a good trade-off in that sense.
That's exactly the point. And always the thought is business and agility. I want to run with the speed of innovation. I don't want to say, let's try a database, and then I'm asking someone, and then he'll buy IT, and then he'll try to deploy it, and then so it will take you weeks, sometimes months, to start even trying to innovate. At AWS, it's a cloud, you're getting to your console, click, and within minutes, you get a service. You can play with it. You can play with it. You can try it. You don't like it, doesn't work. You just drop it.
So what is it like in terms of, startups in that sense, right? It seems to me, and I'll be a little bit more specific, right? But, everyone today, as I said, is talking about moving to the cloud and using the cloud and whatever that means to them, right? And, I was just at Cyber Tech a few weeks ago, and I was talking to all these cyber guys, and everyone's talking about cloud security and cloud this and cloud the next thing, right? Yeah. So obviously we're headed there. And if it's not now, it'll be in a year or 2, 5, whatever. We're all going to, I imagine we'll all be there unless the world goes upside down even more than it has. So basically, my question to you is, why would a startup starting today, want to get involved with AWS as opposed to, say, start on we can say the startups, good ideas, view of what they think they should be doing?
Yeah, so I can't believe you're asking startup questions to an enterprise person like me.
I figured that the enterprise have the idea.
20 years in the telecommunication industry asking me about startup. Well, I'm actually...
It's the honor. Don't worry.
Let's think logically. I'm thinking, startups like, again, going back in time, 15 years ago, it wasn't hard. They start always in the garage. It's very traditional, start in the garage. And then, they have to develop somewhere. They have to, probably procure some hardware, maybe it's their own desktop, but then as they involve, and then they're trying to look at the put operations, so they need to think about development and DevOps, but not in the early stages, so they're more thinking about the application. But at some point, when they're starting to evolve, they're actually stuck with how do I, if they're having the first customer, hooray, then they need to think about the same things that the organization think, like what will happen if my garage will burn? Right. Where do I put my data somewhere else? I need to back up my data.
Or if I have a hack or something. Yeah.
If I have, what if I'm hacked? I have to think about security. My customer, whoever it is, will want to know that I encrypt their data at rest and in transit. And I need to think about scaling because I need to put another desktop under my desk because I have more traffic maybe again, even with my first customer. So all of this is quite a big concern for startups because how do you think about growth? And how do you think about making the move from I have an idea into I have all the tools that I need in order to operate it. I know versioning. So all of these capabilities, and it can be about operation, it can be about DevOps, even DevOps, like, we all love to say DevOps, DevSecOps,
Sure.
say FinOps, and we want to make it cheap as well. Because the problem is that every time you try to invest in it, you might procure something and then it might not work.
And then you're back to the drawing board.
Yeah, and you're stuck maybe with a server, maybe with a service that you don't need.
Exactly.
The good thing about the cloud is that it grows as your business grows.
So it's very dynamic.
Exactly. It's very dynamic. You pick your resources. It's it's like almost a risk-free like play zone. I like it like I call it like a big Lego store.
I like what you just said there. It's like a risk-free play zone. It's like, do whatever you want. Come in, come out. We have it secure.
Exactly.
Don't worry about it.
But be mindful of what you procure, because sometimes, again, when you're in a store, you might, overload your cart, and then you find you have a big bill. So being always minded is, and we, by the way, as solutions architect, one of the things that we do, and it regardless if it's startups, enterprises, like public sectors, we are very much the navigators. We are the we're kind of the guide in the journey.
Okay.
And journey is a journey.
Yeah.
Regardless if I'm trying to move these very big banks, or, you can identify these big organizations.
Right. Versus the enterprise or the smaller
Cloud
guys.
migration is a scary migration.
Of course.
It's like they're so used to one way of doing things, and then it's not just about the technical challenge or even the cost challenge. It's about the mindset. Startups are very easy. They're agile in nature.
Sure.
Big organization is all about, how do I change the mindset of the people and the culture of the organization to work differently. I actually like to crack these guys better, because it's almost a psychology involved in what I'm doing.
It's like a solutions architect.
It's like a solutions architect.
Hey.
That's awesome, Jordan. Yeah. We love awesome because it's like AWS think, like AWeSome.
So basically.
Yeah.
Amazon is also taking away our language,
It's like, we do that.
Taking our data and our language at the same time.
We don't take, you give it to us, and we do good use with you.
There you go.
So
and then it's awesome.
It really is a synergy. It really is about, I'm a big preach. I think I love what I do. I don't know if you hear that I love what I do, but I feel like, it's making this journey successful to organizations. It's all about understanding where they're starting, where they're heading, and what kind of path are they going through. So some might tell us, okay, you've done one migration, all will look the same. No, not the same, because organizations have different problems. They need different things.
And not necessarily industry you're talking about. Like, it doesn't matter, because obviously the banks versus the construction guys are different, right? But I'm saying, you're saying that in a sense, no migration looks the same because of the organization.
It's because of the starting point is not the same. Sometimes customer will come and say, hey, I'm good with what I do, but I would like to invest in the digital experience of my end customers.
Sure.
Or they might say, I have a lot of data and I would like to be able to analyze and again, get more insight.
Manage it easier.
Exactly.
Okay.
Sometimes it's all about cost reduction. They're saying, okay, I pay huge amount of money for my operations. I use commercial databases that I'm stuck with a very, very expensive licensing model.
Okay.
I want to move to open source, but I'm so scared of it because how do I manage it? How do I train my people to do that? They're so used to this kind of operation, and we're assisting in this. So part of it is all about training and building the confidence, the competency with our customers. And then sometimes you're having these early adopters we're having a cloud strategy. We move everything and we're doing all the organization is running forward, and then you're having the ones that are needing this really paced.
They need a little
journey.
hand-holding, you could say.
Exactly. They need to experience it. They move one workload, they feel, they get the feeling, they get, the experience, and it takes them more time. Sometimes, by the way, it's all about them coming with scars. Like they had a huge data set and shutdown, and they're like, oh my God, I'm not resilient. I'm not resilient. I can't let it's a business critical system.
Right.
I can't let my end customer experience, the entire satisfaction of my end customer rely on the fact that my system is available, that I know how to respond to spiking loads, that my data center doesn't become my single point of failure. So sometimes, again, trying to understand what is the reason, for the journey. Sometimes they don't even know how to articulate it. So we're trying to work with them on trying to understand that that's one.
Like they know they got to get to the cloud, but they don't know why and they don't know how. And so you guys
sometimes
kind of
they
help
don't
them
even
there.
know that they want to go to the cloud and like, I don't know why cloud. And then when we start to discuss with them, they don't even know what kind of things the cloud can resolve. The bad thing about it is that when they're becoming like, it's really interesting. I'm having some of my customers, like their speed of innovation, they started slowly, but as they're starting, they're getting more and more hungry. I'm like, we're doing serverless. Like, wait. And I'm like, and this is amazing. When I start running after them, because they are, they are on their way, they are learning, they are reading, what about that, what about this? And then it's become really, really interesting discussion because
cool.
They are not bounded to anything. They're changing their mindset. They're saying, my developers are getting the bill at the end of the day because they're taking full responsibility, not just on the business, not just on their code, but also, the entire decision on what kind of services are they using, what kind of databases. They're getting all security responsibility, but they're getting all the services to do that. So you don't leave them alone.
Right.
You give them all the best practices and guidelines so they're not stuck on how do I do that? They're not overwhelmed. They have all the tools to do that. And then lastly, they're responsible for the FinOps side because the decision, they need to understand the implication of their decision. And I think it's an amazing mindset change that you can do on a cloud because nobody dictates you anything and you get the full responsibility. And I
But it
think
also sounds like you guys like really create this full kind of like, solutions ecosystem for them. Like you're basically, and it kind of adapts based on the person. Now, with that being said, where do you kind of see, and you said this before that you like very specific, edge technologies and stuff. Where do you kind of see the industry moving to right now? Because obviously, even if we're all moving to the cloud and we're not there, the cloud's been around for a little bit. People know it. But what's like the next step? What's the next stage of this development?
So there's a lot of like things, and I think I saw it in previous sessions, like blockchains, and so I'm going to take you like things that I'm excited about. I'm gonna walk you through things that I'm excited about. So, edge. Everything. So this year was for me is everything edge, and it's interesting because.
Wait, let's just talk about what edge is for the people at home who don't know.
Edge is so it's a subjective term. We like to say about edge at AWS. So we have the concepts of regions. Regions, just imagine these gigantic data centers that are spread worldwide. So we have 26 of them.
Okay.
And there are constructed of availability zones, which again is all about resiliency.
Gotcha.
We had 84 of them, and we're constantly adding more and more. So people that you hear about AWS most of the time, they run on the region, and then again, it gives excellent solution for majority of the workloads.
Okay,
but not all workloads were born for the region, and the idea is that sometimes you're having the use cases of it's like kind of like the three laws. Sometimes you have the laws of physics. If you need a very low latency and you can't afford the time it will take to go to the region and back, you're having, it can be, on healthcare or something that, on the network side, by the way, it's like you need to have sub 10 millisecond latency.
Okay.
Then you have to have some localization. Another thing is, it's like the laws of economics. Sometimes you have a huge amount of data.
Right.
And you don't want to move this data because it doesn't make sense to move huge amount of data collected.
It's not good.
Like sensors, data sensors, or from car engines, or from like big camera videos, media.
Not efficient, not resource.
Just again, doesn't make sense.
Right.
You want to analyze, you want to do some processing at the edges and move just the data that you want to the cloud. And the third one is the law of the land. You're not allowed to move the data.
Because of different compliancy.
Exactly. You have a regulation in your country. You might not have a region. You can move the data. It can be like healthcare places in which you're not allowed to take the customer data out. So all of these are like things that we need to think about, and more, by the way. Even in the law of physics, we need to think about, I don't have connection. Like I'm on an airplane. I'm in a car. I don't have connection.
Okay.
What do I do now?
Right.
And edge starts exactly where you can't run on a region. So, and we're having a lot of services. And for me, it's really interesting because, again, it means that we're completing, we're not ignoring any kind of workload. So it can be from the tiniest IoT devices, and IoT is another really interesting thing that
I'm sure that we could have our own podcast about that.
You can So it's everything connected these days, right? Everything connected, everything you have from the parking lots into, all these kind of sensors and robotics in manufacturing. So that's one of the things that are, computer need to think about. And then other thing can be about, as we started saying, can be like a car engine. So, automotives, connected cars. It can be about all the manufacturing plane that we were discussing about. It can be media and entertainment, that you have lots of videos and data.
So it's basically kind of like everything. Yeah. Like it's like everything's kind of just like AWS is going for it on everything.
Exactly.
If it's data related, if it's
even the outpost. So I'm working on a service which is called AWS Outposts.
Okay.
This is
what
about
is that?
The use case. Outpost is kind of, imagine that you take our own infrastructure. So it's a rack, if it's like the cabinet with these servers on it. So compute, you're having storage on it, but you get it on your on-prem one.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So if you can't take your data to the region will come to you.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. You get and then
or
it's
all about
awesome.
Right?
Or now you go. So it's all about the same experience, because just imagine what will happen if you're having 99% of your workload running on a region, but you have to stay with some of your workload because of all the reasons I said before on your on-prem. And then what? Then you have to do everything new. So you have to have different, you have to procure compute from some vendor. Right. You have to put like virtualization on top of it. And then you actually have to manage maybe your containers. So you have to have your own Kubernetes orchestration on it, your own databases. And then you're stuck with two different IT people doing this because...
But you guys house it under one roof, basically.
Exactly. Same API, same experience. You provision it. We stack it. We're providing this full configuration. We manage it for you. We put it on your own data set. And then you have this single pane of glass for monitoring, for operation, for experience. And that's one of the things about simplification. We're trying to simplify the experience also on the IT side, where it's complex to manage these days.
Interesting. So like now with, we're actually, it's funny, we have had like such a long time. We're getting to the end of the podcast. And I always like to ask people like yourself, what is your advice then for entrepreneurs right now, who are getting out into this field and are moving to the side of, cloud transformation, or are considering starting their own business. And even if they're entrepreneurs and they're in their enterprise phase too as well, what's your advice for them in terms of your role at AWS? How do you suggest people get involved in this system?
So I'm thinking, I think for any kind of entrepreneur in any kind of domain, just looking at the breadth and depth of services, almost anything that you want from, we didn't even touch machine learning, but the idea is that almost everything that you need in order to flourish your idea is there technically.
Right.
And you're talking to solution architects.
Right.
Solution
So
architects.
we know.
It's all about the technical. I'm going to be all about technical. At the same time, so we can assist you to start simple. So you need from designing a web page. So this thing about how do you build things simply, we have all these start kits that they can use in order to really develop something. But entrepreneurs are looking for, how do I take off the shelf some capabilities of the system quite easily and then adopt them in my idea. I don't 100%. Need to develop them. They exist. And the third one is about all these kind of programs that we have at AWS to kind of to again be your companion in your journey. So these programs are more about how do you develop your idea, what kind of steps you need to do. So they're less in the side that I'm representing on the technical side, but I think we're having the full coverage of what do you want to build, how do you do that? Who are your companions? And we're assisting. We even have this floor 28.
Okay.
You heard about?
No, I'd like to know.
It's actually super cool. We're having a floor at Tel Aviv offices. This idea, by the way, now starting in many other AWS locations, in which is a place for both getting knowledge about AWS, and at the same time, it gives places for startups to start there. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I'm not so much involved in it, again, being an enterprise or a creature, but definitely go and look in floor 28 and get more ideas of what you can do in there.
I like it.
Yeah, it's super cool. I should start working with startups more. I think it's really
come on.
cool.
If anything, this taught you this.
Enterprise creature, you can't take that.
It's all right. You can't change it too much. But anyways, listen, Efrat, I appreciate you coming through. This was like super, super enlightening when it comes to AWS and the cloud. I appreciate you giving your time, and I think people here are going to be floored when they hear this. So I'm very, very excited to release it. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me here. I had a blast, really.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for watching and listening. If you would like to listen to more episodes not on our YouTube channel, please follow the links below to Spotify or Apple Music.